mysteries abound around the world, from strange lights in the night sky to ghostly apparitions passing from one realm to the next. From the great pyramids of Egypt to what lies beneath the depths of Loch Ness. From Bigfoot to Atlantis, they are all mysteries waiting to be solved. Join Lori Phillips, Lauren Smith, Graz, and Billy Simmons as they search for the truth on Night Callers Radio.
Good evening and welcome to Night Callers Bigfoot Radio. It is October 1st, 2015, and you're here with Lauren, Graz, and Billy, the Night Callers. Really? You did not just moo at me.
No, I said,
You're
not that pregnant yet.
The boss lady, Lori, is off tonight celebrating a birthday. So we graciously gave her the night off. How are y'all doing tonight?
Doing good.
Humana.
Yeah. Yep. Same. Yep.
Laying down.
Yeah. So anything been going on in y'all's areas?
No, not
the only
yet.
one's got an active one. Yep.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I'm looking forward to start ramping up a little. It's cooling down now, so
definitely.
maybe the next week or two might prove interesting.
Well, you got. Last time we talked about it, you got to check out that new crossing area. Ever since you got rid of the trailer and they got rid of all that underbrush over there on the other side that they can't pass through, they got that new crossing area right down up the street there. Of course, you've been kind of busy lately.
Yeah.
Just a bit.
Yeah.
And that neighbor guy that you said he's got some experiences or something going on at that crossing area. We were looking at it on Google Earth.
Right.
So
Well,
that'll start up again.
like I said, I'm hoping with this cool down that's hit us, I'm hoping things are going to start ramping up. And it's been too hot. I don't blame them. I wouldn't want to get out and do much either.
Nope, it's cooling down here. I mean, it's been like 68 and 70 degrees, and yeah, my family, we're all bundled up and wearing our sweaters and scarves. It's chilly in the mornings. Southerners don't know what to do.
It was 65 and clear up here today, and we're all walking around out there in our shirts, just having a good old time. In Seattle, that's rare. Of course, it's going to start raining now. It's fall. We're coming up to the monsoon season.
Ugh.
See, we had about a 20-degree drop here, so we're enjoying it. It's supposed to be down in the 50s at night, so. Woo-hoo.
Yeah, that's how it's been here, and it's been real nice. I'm not gonna lie. It's that's how the South is. It's you get summer, one day of fall, then winter, and then a week of spring, and then summer, and that's it. Yep. Winter starts on Halloween. It all of a sudden drops into the 40s and 50s, just while you're out trick or treating. No warning. The day before is like 80 degrees.
That's the truth.
Mhm.
That is not a lie.
That's the South for you. When Southerners think of the North, we think of like 11-foot snow drifts year round. Like that's what we think of.
Well, this is the time. I got to get that Squatch mobile going. I got to. I'm shopping for a new Edelbrock high rise and carburetor for it. And get it all ready for next spring. Get the roof painted, things like that. That's what my winter's going to be. Woohoo!
Well, that's all right. Well, y'all want to go ahead and tell us about our guest?
Let's do it.
Well, Night Callers Bigfoot Radio presents Don Peak of Kentucky. Don is is a professional trophy multi-species freshwater angler. Say that without skipping. With 3 Kentucky Master Angler Awards, over 150 trophies, and Big Fish Awards. An accomplished deer hunter, a former competitive shooter with many awards, a former competitive bodybuilder and gym owner, wilderness survival instructor, and wilderness guide. Mentioned in several Outdoor Life magazine issues, Louisville Courier Journal Newspaper, and pictured in North American Fisherman magazine. And a Bigfoot hunter and investigator. Like most people who enjoy the outdoors, Don never gave much thought to whether Bigfoot existed or not, but if Bigfoot did exist, it would almost have to be up here with me in the Pacific Northwest, not in his home state of Kentucky. At least that's what he thought until July of 2004 while wade fishing a creek for smallmouth bass in the eastern mountains of Kentucky. Join us as we find out how Don Peake discovered Squatch that day. Don also has 3 Facebook pages, but those 3 links will be on our Nite
in the chat
page. Or in the chat. You can drop them in the chat.
I will put them in the chat. And okay. All right. Hey Don, how you doing tonight?
How y'all doing? I appreciate y'all having me on, and I'm honored to be as y'all's guest.
Oh yeah, we're glad to have you.
Okay.
Glad to have you.
Well, my story starts
Go ahead.
in the Appalachian foothills of Kentucky. Several times a year, I fish several counties. I like the scenery. I like the wild creeks and small rivers that run through there. I usually go to Bell County, Knox County, Clay County, Leslie counties. And actually, in May of 2004, I was fishing about 8 miles from where this event happened. But I have been on that particular creek maybe a dozen times or so throughout the years before the event of July of 2004. And but I had made plans to go to a particular area about 8 miles from where I usually go. And it was hard to get there in a little 4-wheel, and I went ahead and I made it. Went ahead and set up camp, did a little fishing, and I did pretty well. Went ahead and went back, probably have some fish and taters, and was sitting there, and I was thinking, well, maybe if I tomorrow, maybe wade upstream a bit, I might be able to find some deeper pools, maybe some little bit bigger fish. So the next day, that's what I did. I went ahead and commenced to walk up, to hike a little bit and do a little wade fishing. And I did. I run into some deeper pools, and I run into some bigger fish. And about 4 o'clock that afternoon, I decided, I better be getting back to camp. And I had just looked at my watch, and there was a huge, pretty good-sized rock landed just a few feet from me and hit the creek. I was in about ankle-deep water at that time because I was getting ready to head back and to my campsite. And then it was followed up by 2 more. And then I looked up to where the rocks were coming from, and there was 1 more rock on its way, and it slammed pretty close to me. And there were 3 very large, giant, silhouetted figures, human-like figures, just barely inside the tree line. And which pretty much took me by surprise. And the one on the left moved forward, and I'd say he's probably about anywhere from 8 to 9 foot tall, dark reddish brown hair. the face looked, it was about 2/3 covered with hair. The face was. The whole body was covered with hair, really thick hair. The body was, just thickly muscled. Really, really massive. And now the other two stayed just inside the tree line a little bit, but it was a bright sunny day, and you could see a little bit of their face. And I was about 20 yards away from the one that comes towards the opposite bank, and the other ones were maybe 5 to 10 yards behind him. Now I don't know why he went ahead and made the move to approach, but I don't know whether it was just whether he had just a bold personality or whether he was maybe the leader or what the deal was there. But anyway, he had green eyes and facial features like a very prominent nose. Didn't look like an ape at all. And it was just they kind of communicated with each other. He was able to turn his head without turning his body. I don't know what exactly they were. They were vocalizing, okay. But
that's what I was going to ask. What they were doing,
right?
Okay.
But very low tone. They wasn't excited. They wasn't upset. They didn't scream or holler or anything like that. Okay. Now, of course, I was pretty stunned, and I really didn't know what to do. And so I went ahead and took my the fishing stringer and I didn't throw it at him, but I kind of like softball lobbed it over, tried to get it as close to the bank as I could, and then I kind of sidestepped and just kind of made my way away from them. Anyway, by the time I got back, of course I was covered with scratches and burrs and just everything else, trying to get back to my truck. And I didn't even bother to pack. I just went ahead. I just threw everything in the back of the truck, and what have you. And I got out as fast as I could. But
so you just left them a gift.
Well, I don't know. I've gone over this in my head a million times. I don't know whether, they could. I really believe that they could have hit me with the rocks. I think they missed me on purpose. Okay. And because they were certainly strong enough and close enough. The rocks weigh between 20 and 30 pounds, I would say, and they were certainly strong enough to throw them harder if they wanted to, and they could have knocked me down and killed me with a rock. Mm-hmm. But anyway, when I got back, of course I wanted to know what they were doing there and where they came from, And
had you ever heard of anything like that previous to that?
Well, I had been out. I had been out in the woods and the forest and the mountains for decades, fishing and what have you, hunting, trapping, doing some trapping in my younger years and stuff. But I had never, and I heard about Bigfoot, and it was just something like if I seen it on TV, I might watch part of something like on the History Network or the Discovery Network or something like that, and I really didn't pay it any mind. Okay, mm-hmm. And it wasn't until after I seen something like that, then I really got involved in it. But the thing is that the more I got involved in it, I found out that they're just, a lot of the Bigfoot organization just wasn't much help to me. I mean, I would explain what I saw, and they would say, well, that must have been a tree stump, or that must have been a big rock, or some black bears, and I'm like, really? I mean, are you not listening to what I'm trying to tell you, what I saw? You know what I'm saying? And then they would say things like, well, then it would border on the ridiculous. It would be like, well, you must have run into a band of giant hippies, or, something like that, And so, I just got to the, it just seemed like that I had to, find my way, to find out what was really going on, and what these things were, and that sort of business. And a few years later, I was listening to Coast to Coast radio, and they had a guy on there named David Politis, and I'm like, yeah, that's what I saw. I wouldn't have been nearly as traumatized if I had seen a big gorilla. You're used to seeing a gorilla like at a zoo or something. You follow me? But
right.
But when you seen what I seen, okay, and you're thinking, my God, what is that? And it didn't look like a giant monkey. It didn't look like an ape. It didn't, the mannerisms, the way they moved, the expressions on their faces. I know that two of them had two different faces. I couldn't really tell about the third one because of lights and shadows and what have you in the trees, But I got a glimpse at the other one, of one of the other two, and I could tell that one had a different face than the one that was closest to me. So I mean, so I thought, well, that's when I heard him on Coast to Coast, I thought, well, that's so. Then I started reading some more material and stuff like that, and got even more involved. And then I got my own group together, and because I was because I had been so involved in the outdoors, and I knew a lot of professional people, and hunters, anglers, trackers, what have you, then I went ahead and recruited quite a few really gifted people. And
now, how
me,
did you go about recruiting people? I mean, if you didn't really know anybody in the area, and some of the groups were
no, I didn't even bother with those groups.
Right.
Because I thought they were totally off base on everything. I mean, like I would read their post, I would talk to them in person, I would see them on television and stuff like that, and by their own admission, they would admit that they were confused when they were in the field. They didn't know a tree stump from a black bear, or stuff like that, And what I needed people who made a living outdoors. I needed people who knew what they were looking at outdoors.
Oh.
And so that's what I did. And I come up with some really fine people. And we've been able to collect quite a bit of information and what have you. And we've identified at least 9 and possibly 10 what we call red zones, where Bigfoot actually inhabit, and and we just that's what we do,
So you started your own group with mostly just are these really professional outdoorsmen?
Yes, absolutely, yeah, and. I've even recruited some herpetologists because they're always in the field, book authors, professional trackers, what have you, and survival instructors, and people that are out. Most of my people spend at least 130 to anywhere from 130 to 180 to 200 days, bag nights, what we call bag nights. They're out there,
Yeah.
They know what they're looking at. They know the habits of the local wildlife. A lot of these people that were supposed to be experts don't even know the habits of the local wildlife. One thing that what really shocked me about the Bigfoot world was, if you go like the Boone and Crockett Club, the Pope and Young Club, the Safari Club, okay, or the International Game Fishing Association. If you was to go in there and say, well, I'm an expert on bighorn ram, but I've never seen one, okay, they laugh you out of there.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so many people that's supposed to be experts that's never seen one.
Yeah.
Well, that's the fun of watching people on Facebook talking about Bigfoot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just incredible. One thing that really shocks me about Bigfoot is the size.
Yes.
They're massive, 8, 9 foot tall. But I actually, back about 4 years ago, I actually saw a Bigfoot that was larger than the one I seen in 2004. And that was in the Smoky Mountains, about 3.5 miles from Clingman's Dome. Now, there's a fella in Louisville, Kentucky, a pretty well-off guy, that is about early to middle 70s. And he noticed I was on a lot of blogs, and I was on the internet quite a bit, and he found out that I lived around Louisville. It's one of my places where I live at. And he got in touch with me, and he was telling me that he had an experience in Anderson County. His family owned a farm in Anderson County, Kentucky. And when he was 7 years old, riding on his with his dad on a tractor, a Bigfoot had come across the field. And he asked me, he said, do you have any sponsors? And I said, for Bigfoot? I got sponsors for other things, but I don't have sponsors for Bigfoot. No. He says, well, I'll tell you what. He says, I'll sponsor some trips for you if you're interested. So he has been sponsoring me quite a few times when I go out on these trips. But the one down in the Smoky Mountains was that thing was just incredibly huge. And now I only seen the shoulder, the side of the head, the hip, and the thigh. But this thing was just massive, And it's just that's what blows my mind really, is the size of these things. And I also think that there is a very healthy population of Bigfoot.
Oh, good, yeah.
I think that, as a matter of fact, I think there's a population explosion. And the reason why is because I find an awful lot of juvenile tracks and sign, and I've even found nurseries, what I believe are nurseries. And I'm also finding signs of Bigfoot that are close to cities, towns, what have you. And so it leads me to believe that there's quite a few more than what we've been led to believe there is.
Definitely. Why do you say there's a population explosion? I mean, I know you say that you found the tracks,
right,
but what would cause that,
right,
I wonder? For them to feel comfortable enough to get their numbers up that high. Well,
I think they've always been with us. Okay? for 40 years, I was out there all the time and never seen one. You know? I mean, how many times have you ever gone out and never seen anything out of the ordinary?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you go outside, like you hunt, fish, horseback ride, backpack, canoe, you know?
Mhm.
I mean, I went 40-some-odd years without seeing one.
Yeah, same here.
So, I mean, you know, so, you know, how many times, you know, I have to ask myself, how many times have I walked by one? Tell you what happened to me and another member of my team this past winter, okay? We was in Bell County, all right? And we were looking, you know, what we usually do and what have you. And we was on like a cliff overhang, okay? And I was just taking pictures of landscape. And I went ahead and put my and we've been there a couple of days. And I had just put my camera in the case, put my case in the backpack, and she goes, "Oh my God." She goes, "That tree just got up and walked away." And I turned around, and here it is. I mean, walking across, going into a thicket, about 250, 300 yards from where we were at. So I asked her, I said, do you think you could find where he was at? And she said, yeah. So we went down there. Took us a while to get down because we were where we were at. But we got down there, and sure enough, where she thought that he was sitting, the grass was matted down. You could see where he got up. I even took some pictures of some prints. But I got home, and I went ahead and blew the picture up on the computer, you know, and was looking in the area where, where we knew he was at, and there he was. He had been there all along. We didn't see him until he or she got up and walked away. So I mean, you just it leads you to believe that, how many times have you walked by one or paddled by one?
Well, I've been saying that for years because I spent years up here gold panning and just I'd drive around all weekend out here in the Cascades. And I'm out there by myself. I'm not carrying. Mm-hmm. And we got cougar, we got bear, we got everything, and I know where everything's at. But I've never had a fear of anything. And I've walked them through the woods by myself. And the time I saw it, I was gold panning. I was down on one knee, and I got the willies. And that was the first time that ever happened. Right. I had little jokes going in my head about Bigfoot being around. But and I knew up here, Bigfoot is big, so it's all over the place. In signs, right. T-shirts and all that kind of stuff. But we've got several 100,000 square miles of forest that they can just walk around. And I've always joked around with people about that. I mean, all these thousands and thousands of hikers out in the woods. Bigfoot sitting up on the side of the hill munching on popcorn watching these weirdos walking around out there.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely, yeah.
And that is that's 99.5% of the time out there. Nobody would even know they're around. That's why people joke about it all the time. And they turn it into a bit of a ridiculous kind of thing. I've been out in the woods for 30 years and I've never seen a damn thing about it. Right. They turn it into a joke. But when they first get, like yours and mine, it's that first time you see one, bang, it changes everything.
It changes everything. You don't know, your whole belief system's changed, because I really don't know, where, it just makes me wonder about things, it makes me a little uneasy when I go into the woods, even though when I'm looking for them, Now, I have seen them several occasions, but then I'm looking for them now, and I know what to look for,
Well, one of the things we talk about also is when you see one, all of a sudden it opens up a door in your head and in your feeling about the woods. And now you know those little movements out of the corner of your eye are something else. Most of the time you've ignored that.
Well, they can mimic other animals too. And the thing about Bigfoot that I've discovered is that incredible instinct. But they have problem solving too. They have the gift of thought, and they have actually circled around me, circled around us, and what have you. So I mean, it's just they're very incredible, and the more I get into it, the more incredible, and you develop theories too.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I've developed theories, and then I've discarded theories, and I've come up with more theories, and
well, you have to. You just learn it.
Well, yeah, and it's a learning experience, and I listen to everybody. I hear all kinds of stuff. I'll have people tell me things. I don't, I can't discredit them because I wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
Some things I believe, some things I don't believe. But it's not me to decide because I wasn't there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it's just you just have to go by. What I go by is what I've discovered, what I've found, and what works for us and what works for me when we go hunting Bigfoot. And what we do, we don't tree knock, okay? And we don't yell or howl or anything like that. When we go into an area, we try to be as innovative as we can be. Okay, we go in like people backpacking, or we'll canoe in, or we'll horseback in. You see?
Mm-hmm.
And one reason why we don't tree knock is because Bigfoot are going to tree knock anyway. That's what they do. So if you're going to be in an area, like if you're in an area where there's Bigfoot, they're going to be knocking anyway.
Right.
I don't want them to know that, that I know that they tree knock.
Well, we really don't know what they're saying anyway.
We don't know what they're saying anyway. We don't know what it means. So, and we don't howl or scream or anything like that either. Right. And one reason why we don't is because, there's always a big debate afterwards, especially if people record it. It's like, well, we hear the coyotes. Now, is that a Bigfoot back there too? When you holler or scream or something like that in the woods, if there's a coyote around, if there's a pack of coyotes or hound dogs or anything, everything's howling.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't do none of that. And we don't use ATVs or anything. Sometimes we'll hike 2, 3, 4 hours to get to where we're going to. And we stay off trail. Like we'll go off trail about 90% of the time. Like we may take a trail to get halfway, so we can make some time and get to maybe, several miles from where we got to be at. We study topographical maps extensively, and what have you. Eyewitnesses, we talk to them before we go a lot of times, most times. Paper accounts, anything we could find about an area. We look for travel corridors, creeks, rivers.
Are you out there hiking around in the big woods, or are you just doing some of the smaller pockets of some of the smaller mountain areas?
We go everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
We go everywhere. We might be in the Appalachian Mountains, Cherokee National Forest, Smoky Mountains, Hoosier National Forest, Mammoth Cave area. One of the best places that we discovered was the Wayne National Forest in Ohio. I've always heard over the past several years since I've been into Bigfooting was, about the grass man, about a lot of Bigfooting, a lot of Bigfoot in Ohio, And
we've got another guest on that actually does a lot of work out there in the wings.
Okay, that's great. And anyway, we got out there, and we were very, very lucky. One of my Facebook friends, her people have property that's pretty much almost right dab in the middle of Wayne National Forest. So that's where we camped at, and we were several miles away from where we wanted to go. And man, it was just an awesome. It was an awesome trip. Man, we found evidence out the yin yang. So I mean, it's just a matter of fact, on my Facebook page, I put, there's Bigfoot in Wayne National Forest. There's no doubt.
Right.
So.
Well, it's pretty much Bigfoot everywhere, but sometimes they concentrate a little bit more in certain areas.
I've often thought that maybe there may be 2 or 3 different species of Bigfoot, or maybe there's 2 or 3 different crypto creatures that people are lumping together as Bigfoot. You know what I'm saying?
Huh. There's a controversy about that different type. Is Dogman a certain version of Bigfoot, et cetera?
Right.
And sometimes you got the muzzle-nosed Bigfoot. And it looks like a Bigfoot, but it's got a bit of a muzzle nose to it.
Right. Now, if I had seen just a silhouette, if I had just seen like maybe the backside of a Bigfoot, then I might say, hey, that's a Gigantopithecus type thing or something. You know what I'm saying?
Right, but then you saw that face.
But what I seen, okay, that was not an ape.
Right.
No way, no how.
And what kind of nose did it have? The wider
it
kind
of
a human
nose. It had a human nose. It looked high cheekbones. It had a human, it had like a European nose. Okay, It didn't have blowholes like an ape or anything like that. Okay,
right.
Like I said, like a gorilla or something. Okay, the hair came. It was lighter hair on the face, up to the cheeks. Okay, up to the almost midways on the cheeks. The hair come down. I'd say. Almost to where the eyebrows would be, and it had green eyes. I could see the green eyes. The hair was dark orange, or dark red, or what do you want to call it?
Right.
Very long hair. Whole body covered with hair. Chest. I'm thinking it was a male. I didn't see any genitalia or anything, but I didn't see any breast. And extremely muscular. I'm an ex-bodybuilder, man. I mean, I tell you, this thing had the muscle. Just incredible. The arms, legs were proportioned to his torso. In other words, the arms wasn't unusually long. Okay.
Right.
The prominent hips, glutes, or what you want to call them. Thighs were just really, really massive. And you can just tell these things are just tremendously powerful, strong. When you go
just
through the woods,
pretty much an oversized Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh man, I'm telling you. Let me tell you. Sometimes we'll find, just like a while back the other day, I found a track line that stretched about a mile. The gate was about 4 feet 8 inches. Okay, that is a long stride. Okay. Now, you take something like that. There's no telling how just how tall that thing is. 4 feet 8 inches. I have a walking staff. I took a picture of, between the, on one step to the other step. So
You got all that stuff on your Facebook?
It's just amazing. Yeah, Don Peaks Wellness Adventure page, yeah. And I've got over 200 pictures of tracks and track lines. Okay, all sizes. Okay, I got monster tracks. I mean, huge tracks, and I got small tracks. Have to belong to juveniles. You know.
Do you cast?
No, we have asked ourselves that and talked about that, but we're probably going to go ahead and cast a few. Like when we see them again, we go out by ourselves a lot, solo, or maybe one, or maybe two, maybe three. We don't take a lot of people when we go.
Right.
And because like I say, we're very intrusive. We don't, we think, and it works for us. That the less that we disturb everything, the better. The more we get. The more evidence we get.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kidding around with a group the other day, and I said, can you imagine if we cast every track that we have found over the past several years? My garage would be full of cast.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're going to go ahead and maybe start casting a few, what have you. But
now
tracks don't.
One thing about that, I agree with what you're saying. Personally, if I were going to cast, it would have to be the absolutely most beautiful and perfect print, showing dermal ridges and all the little tiny things in it that you could actually make it worth your while to do.
Right.
Most tracks are kind of like ambiguous. You can't really get much detail out of them. That's a track. That's a track. A lot of people cast any damn track that comes up, even in pine needles or in leaves and stuff and sticks and whatever, and that's not really going to do much for research. If you're trying to research the animal, you want to wait until you get the absolutely most perfect and beautiful cast or footprint that you could find. Something in clay or something along that line, real fine clay, where you can. It's almost like you put your foot in there and it's just perfect.
Right, and recently it's been really really dry in this in the Ohio Valley, and the ground's been really really hard. A lot of people think when you track, you're supposed to have footprints everywhere, but tracking is a whole there's a whole lot involved in tracking. It's not just footprints.
Not just footprints. No.
Everybody wishes they had a snow to track or mud or but it don't work that way. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you lose the tracks, and you have to look for other things, and to pick up the pick up the track,
Right.
So. But
you have to feel your way through it.
Yeah.
Things like snaps in the brush.
Mhm. Yeah.
And especially something you're going to talk 8-9 foot tall going through this brush. A lot of the times, just as they're walking along, they're bored and their minds wander. They'll just reach over and just like us, just grab a leaf off of a branch, off a tree, or snap the end of a twig. Just as not even thinking about it. They just walk along and snap a little twig or something like that.
One thing that I've noticed too is, like when you have these long track lines, a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times, what they'll do is sometimes they will snap trees, every so many yards or something. We've noticed that and took pictures of that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. They'll navigational markers, I think, or maybe territorial markers.
Yeah.
Not really sure what the deal is there.
They can't necessarily be just doing it because they're trying to make a track line, because they go through that track line all the time.
Right,
so they don't really need a marker for themselves or even for their closest family, because they go up and down that track line all the time. They've been doing it for years.
And just, they live there. They were born there, and they know that area better than anybody's going to.
And they don't need to mark it necessarily, but unless, of course, they're like you say, it's a marker. It's possibly against another group. This is my land,
or maybe
land,
another clan or whatever they call it or something. I don't know. So maybe a boundary line. I'm not sure. there's a lot of unanswered questions.
You ever see any stick structures out there?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. And, you know, like I was telling you about nurseries, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We've actually found what we believe are nurseries, okay, where, you know, like you'll see this, you know, the stick structures, some of them are pretty good size, you know, but we've actually seen stick structures that are really, really small, you know, like 2, maybe 3 feet, you know, where it looked like maybe a baby will be fooling around, or a rock structure, or something like that, where they just stacking, you know.
Yeah, they get
small
bored.
Rocks. Yeah, and then we have found, you know, rock structures where, you know, you have 50, 75, 100-pound rocks stacked on top of each other. You know? So, I mean, you know, just out in the middle of nowhere.
Right, you try to imagine a teenager, like one of us, a teenager out there, and you live out there, you get bored, you're going to do stuff.
Right. Well, we'll be 2, 3, 4, 5 miles, 6, 7, 8 miles out. My cat. We'll be 5, 6, 7, 8 miles out from the nearest trail, say, and there'll be a stick structure. Okay. You know. Now I know what a debris hut looks like. Okay. You know, like if a human being makes a debris hut, because I teach stuff like that. Okay. And lean-tos, and all this sort of business. But, you know, these things, it's like trying to build something, but they really don't know how. You know? I'm not sure what the deal is on that, but it's like they're making an attempt, you know? But, again,
you're talking about
it's just... well, yeah, I'm talking about these structures that we found,
right?
That just don't. I don't know what purpose they would be, because they're really not a whole lot of shelter there. You know.
Yeah,
so like if a person's going to build a debris hut or something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, see, these people in some of their videos are walking around and they see something, they're trying to say this is a shelter of some kind. But how can you consider that a shelter? There's so many huge gaps in it. There's nothing covering
it.
Exactly. It's almost like an artistic endeavor of some kind.
Yeah.
You don't know.
I think they're trying to say. They may be seeing us do things, like maybe building something or a tent, or maybe even looking at a neighborhood going up somewhere. And they may be, I mean, this is my own theory, okay? They may be attempting to do something like that. I don't know. I don't know. But I'll see these things and I'm thinking, you know, now this can't possibly give you any shelter from anything, you know.
Right.
But they're there.
It's an attempt at trying to do something that modern humans are doing, but they don't necessarily know how. Yeah,
they kind of missed the boat somewhere. I don't know what the deal is on that. I just, you know, sometimes whether I'm by myself or whether I'm with somebody else, you know, we just kind of laugh and just shake our heads like, man, what was this all about? You know, we don't know.
What the hell? You try to imagine something 9 foot tall trying to make something with a big stubby hand or whatnot.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just it's pretty intriguing, and I don't know if we'll ever find out really what's.
You ever find
really
stuff out there that's all woven together and very intricate and almost artistic?
No, I've never seen anything like that. Never have seen anything like that.
Well, maybe Kentucky's got mostly Bigfoot then.
Well, maybe, I don't know. I've never seen anything like that where it's all woven together intricately or anything like that.
Yeah, now, I have seen have that. Some places don't. Maybe that's the hick version of a Bigfoot.
Now I have seen trees that were looked like they were pulled up, because you see the root ball and all that, and drug maybe, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 feet, and put with other trees out in the middle of nowhere, you know, where I know there's no way that you could get a piece of equipment up there and do that, you know. So it had to be done somehow, but, I mean, pretty good-sized trees that, you know, that you might not be able to get your arms around, you know, 35, 40, 45
And then
foot
again,
tall.
there's a question of why.
Why? Yeah, why? You know, I don't know why, you know, and
you try to imagine a human doing that, you got a big question mark on your head. Why would a human do that, and what's left?
Yeah, for no purpose, it looks like, but still, it's there, you know, and you can't explain it. It's there, and you can't, you know, there's no way anybody can have any machinery like we have seen these on hilltops, mountaintops, okay, and you have a hard time climbing up. You know, there's no way you're gonna get a piece of equipment up there, you know, and plus there'd be trees all around anyway. There's stuff like if you had a piece of equipment up there that, you know, you'd have like a roadway made or something. But it's just I don't know. It's just one of those things that you just
sometimes I wonder myself, when Bigfoot's out there, it's supposed to be one with nature, but it sure does make a hell of a mess sometimes.
You know, they yeah, well, they kind of mess the environment up a little bit, but but I mean, you know, so does the wind and the lightning, I reckon, and they sure can't mess it up any worse than we have. But I don't know. You know, I've often thought, you know, I've several times in the Appalachian Mountains, I've been fishing, and I've you know, like left a stringer over the, you know, so it's like left a stringer somewhere, maybe gone ahead and went up to another area on a creek or a small river to, you know, just to, you know, just see, you know, if I could catch something up there or whatever, and come back and my stringer would be gone. And you know, ever since that happened, I made me wonder if maybe you know, they got my stringer. I don't know.
You can find these used stringers hanging from trees someplace.
They may have. I don't know. But it's just
maybe they're using the stringers for decoration after they get the fish off them.
It makes you wonder. I don't know. But it just, you know, I've thought about that over the years, you know, because I have lost a couple stringers full of fish, you know. But I don't know.
So what kind of technology are you taking out there? Are you taking any cameras? You're not doing game cams, probably.
No, I don't do those, and we're pretty low tech, you know. We do things the old-fashioned way. You know, we hunt and track. That's what we do.
Right.
And we take cameras with us and binoculars, things like that. But we don't really, you know, take a lot of. You know, we don't take any really sophisticated stuff. I got some neat cameras now. I got some, you know, high megapixels and you know, some high magnification. But now I've learned over the years, but no, we don't. A lot of these guys, well, we do the, you know, like they'll do the infrared thing. Like, you know, I've had people ask me, they'll say, Don, they say, you go out at night and all that stuff? I said, no. Go out at night. I go ahead and I make a campfire and, you know, let them do what they want to do at night. And then I come get up in the morning and I look for it. You know, I'm not going to run around out in the nighttime and all that sort of business. And
well, that's going to bring them in anyway, and you're at the disadvantage.
Well, you know, I've always said this about Bigfoot. They can see what you can't see. They can hear what you can't hear, and they can smell what you can't smell. Right. There's no doubt in my mind that when you're in the area, they know you're in the area. Now, once in a while, you might run across one that don't know you're in the area, just like anything can happen, you know. You know, it's like, oh, you know, there's one, you know. But if you hang around an area long enough, they're going to know you're in there. And that's why we don't knock or howl or anything or yell or scream, because, you know, we don't want them to know we're not going to announce that we're there. You know, we want to look as normal as can be when we're there.
Right.
You know, and it works for us. We don't ride in on ATVs. You know, a few years ago, about 8 or 9 years ago, when I first started getting into this, there was a group there on the Virginia, Kentucky area there that they asked me if I wanted to come along. And I thought, well, yeah, I want to see how these guys do it. And so I went with them. And my gosh, man, I'm like, you know, everybody rode in on ATVs like the 3rd Cavalry or something. You know, everybody dismounts. They got the tree knocking stick with them. They're knocking on trees, howling and yelling. I'm thinking, my God, you know, if there's a Bigfoot anywhere around, they're not here now. You know? I mean, I don't. Well,
they're watching from a distance, and they're not going to say anything.
I'm like, my God, man.
Well, they've been watching too much Finding Bigfoot.
Oh, man. You mean not Finding Bigfoot? You know, they took me off that blog, you know, a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. Not Finding Bigfoot blog.
What, the Finding Bigfoot blog?
Yeah, the Finding Bigfoot blog. They kicked me off that.
I didn't know they had one.
Yeah, they had one. I guess they still do. I don't know. But, yeah, they wasn't happy with what I was saying.
No, they probably kick a lot of people off who don't, who ask those pertinent questions.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, you know, we don't gift either. We don't gift or anything. We don't set out jelly donuts or peanut butter, and we don't set off fireworks, and you know, we don't none of that. We're pretty boring, really. We like I say, we hunt just like you know, there's nobody hunts like that, you know. I mean, whether you're hunting a fugitive or whether you're hunting
Lori and Billy and Lauren, they don't go out there squatching. You just go out and camp and do a little hiking or something like that, and then you just wait for them to come to you because their curiosity is going to do it. If you're going out there harmless, then their curiosity is going to bring them in.
Right,
They can't help it.
Especially if you got Squatch bait with you, you know, your kids.
Yeah, well, I don't know, man. They didn't do anything to me, but you know, I wouldn't put it past them to do something to somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe do something to me later on, because they're certainly big enough, fast enough, and strong enough to do it. You know, I don't think that they would make a habit of cannibalizing somebody, but I think that you know, some of them might go off the reservation, so to speak, and you know, you got bad personalities everywhere,
right?
You know, so I mean, you know, you might have one that might do that. So I don't know if I'd want my kids around any of them at all. You know, I just don't. You know, I don't think that, you know.
You don't go out and, you know, say, hey, here's a sacrifice. You know, it's just us camping.
Right.
And if they come in, but we ain't going to keep our kids out of the woods.
Right. Yeah, I understand, yeah.
We grew up in the woods, and we're just fine. And
right.
by God, our kids are going to grow up out there, too.
I hear you, yeah. I
think it's about time.
Ain't getting enough of it.
It's about time we take ourselves a little intermission.
Okay.
Take a little break, get up and walk around for a few minutes.
And get a drink.
Get a drink. Let's see. Where's the intermission thing? This is going to last about 8.5 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back in a few minutes.
And we're back. I think our guest is here. Are you there, Don?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay. I don't know where we left off.
Oh, we were just chit-chatting away about something, you know, just something about Bigfoot. I'm not too sure what it was. I remember I had brought up technology. I think was pretty close to around the end of it. You hadn't even thought about thermal cameras or anything yet. 'Cause that would give you a little advantage tonight.
We don't use thermal imaging equipment or infrared equipment. None of that, you know. I say we just we're pretty low tech. We just go in and what we do, we go in, we backpack in, or like I say, we horseback in, canoe in, whatever we do, and then we a lot of times we'll fish because I like to fish, man, and you know, then and at the same time we'll look for sign and what have you, and take pictures, collect things, and collect evidence and catalog it, and go on to the next. You know.
Mm-hmm.
We do have one question from the chat. I just noticed.
1.5 questions.
1.5 questions?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. To add to Ron's question, I see. Okay. Well, Ron Bowles, I hope not pronounce that right. Has Don ever noticed gut piles disappearing moments after field dressing a deer?
I haven't. No, I haven't. Now I'll tell you one thing that I have found though before is I have found just the hide of deer. Okay. One of the things that we do is when we go into an area is we look for kill zones or funnel areas, ambush areas,
mm-hmm.
and where you know, where it would be possible for a for a very close contact kill, you know, and that's what we look for. And we have found, we have found skinned coyotes like that. You know, one of the things too that I'd like to bring up, you know, one of the things I'd like to bring up is that, you know, I think there's a lot of romanticism that's around the Bigfoot, and in a way that's good, but in a way it's, you know, it's just not factual. You know, we've all seen pictures like the other day, man. I seen a picture where there's a Bigfoot and he's got like his handful of acorns, and there's a buck deer and a doe and a fawn, and they're eating out of his hand. And then I've seen pictures where there's a Bigfoot, you know, walking through the forest with the full moon overhead, and the coyotes there's a pack of coyotes that are playing and running around and stuff like that, you know, and we haven't found any evidence at all that there's some kind of a relationship between Bigfoot and coyotes, except maybe they act as a maybe cleanup, you know, like scavenger or something, right after a Bigfoot kill, whatever they leave behind. Or
anything.
Well, I just don't think that there's any relationship there as far as like in other words, I've heard it stated, there's coyotes in the area, so there must be a Bigfoot. Now, you know, these track lines that we found, you know, there's no coyote tracks, there's no pack of coyote tracks running alongside them or anything like that, and you know, I just don't see it. I see maybe the coyote being part of the menu, maybe, but I really don't see.
What do you think of that?
Well, I think that you know, I have found skins like that from deer, coyotes, coons. I found skins like that from coons. If you look into Native American folklore, you know, like a lot of them claim that the Bigfoot don't like to eat hair. So I mean, I don't know. And then, you know, I've also heard of witnesses saying that they've actually seen Bigfoot, carrying the hide off the deer and eating a live deer like that. So I don't know, you know, but like what I'm saying is we haven't found any any relationship between coyotes and Bigfoot. As far as if there's coyotes, a pack of coyotes running around, there's Bigfoot. Now, I'm not saying there isn't. I'm just saying that what we found, we haven't found anything like that. So.
Well, there is a lot of debate about whether or not they, semi-cooperate with each other, not necessarily, chit-chatting about it, but
right.
Coyote following them around or Bigfoot following them around.
Right.
There's some debate about that to a certain extent. I'm not sure what to think about it. I know that whenever a Squatch calls, the coyote take over, and that kind of pisses me off.
Right. That's why we don't call out.
Right.
Because like I say, like I listen to a lot of, I listen to a lot of YouTube stuff, and I listen to a lot of recordings and talk shows and stuff like that, and there's always a debate, it's like, well, here's the coyotes howling, and then is that a Bigfoot in the background there, So, I mean, it's just, I don't know, it just muddies the waters, I think,
Yeah, there are some rare instances that I've heard, and I actually heard one live one time when I was, a long story on that one, where a Squatch calls, the coyotes jump right in, but you can still hear the rumbling of the Squatch at a very low level.
Right.
It's all low end, very deep and guttural kind of stuff that you can pick up in the. That would be about the only one that I would say, because some people say, well, the coyotes are going, but they theoretically can pick out a Squatch that's theoretically imitating a coyote. And I'm going, how the hell are you doing that?
That's right. I know. There's all kinds of theories out there, and like, I don't know how you feel about cloaking,
Oh, forget that.
I'm not into any of that. I think that people are getting confused with being hard to find with cloaking. It's just being stealthy. You know what I'm saying? That type of thing. And
fuzzy pictures. They're going in and out of dimensions or whatnot. Blob squatches and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I
think that I think that the idea that the Sasquatch, Bigfoot, or whatever has such a low population is simply because they're hard to find. They're very hard to find.
Right.
And actually, we have found more mountain lion tracks in the state of Kentucky. Okay, or less mountain lion tracks in the state of Kentucky, rather. Much less mountain lion tracks. We've only found mountain lion tracks in like 7 counties in the state of Kentucky. Okay?
Well, they don't exist.
And they're not supposed to be in Kentucky,
Yeah, they don't exist.
but they are, because we've taken pictures of the tracks and what have you. But and scat. But the thing is this, is that there is a whole lot more Bigfoot in the state of Kentucky than there are mountain lions. I'll tell you that right now. And I think that people get confused with the idea of them being so hard to find with being, low population. And like I said before, I think that we've probably in our lifetime, there's no telling how many times we've passed. I mean, if you go out in the wilderness areas, okay, like I know I have for decades, and you have, there's no telling how many times that we have been very, very, very close to them, and didn't even know it,
Well, a lot of people don't seem to understand that, even in farmland, and we've talked about this before, farmland everywhere in the country, they follow the creek beds, and they can go miles and miles and miles past small towns and go miles and miles and miles to reach another area. And I call those choke points myself, and I say, if you think Squatch is around, find those choke points. And you'll get some evidence from that and work your way through it. I'm working with some friends of mine now about some choke points.
Right. We have found areas that had so many Bigfoot tracks. We found an area not too long ago, about half the size of a football field, that was just literally just beat down with Bigfoot tracks. I mean, which told us, my God, there's quite a few here, And, of course, they had like travel quarters. We had 2 travel quarters, one going from the northeast and one coming from the southeast, going into this one area here. But the thing is, though, is that what we're finding is that there's and the juveniles. There's quite a few of them. So they're having babies, So I mean, it's just
they're not having a hard time of it. They're opportunists. They'll do what it needs, and they'll have their kids.
Right. Absolutely.
And there's plenty of room.
And that's right. But and like I say, we have everywhere we go is not in the mountains or somewhere like that. Like we go to like rural areas that are relatively right there by We have found evidence on farms. We found evidence near towns. We found evidence near large cities. So I mean, it just amazes me just how many Bigfoot there are. Personally, I think there's tens of thousands of them. I really do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine what's going on in the Rockies?
Well, it ain't no telling, ain't no telling. Somebody asked me the other day. They said, Don, do you think Sasquatch migrate? And I don't know about the Rocky Mountains, but I don't think they do east of Mississippi, unless they're harassed maybe, or maybe they're going to be building something, like man's going to be building a neighborhood or something there. But I really haven't seen no evidence of Bigfoot migration going up and down the Appalachian Trail or anything, or whatever.
No, I can't imagine them
going
too far.
What do you think about the Rockies? I mean, the Rockies. You have the elk. They go up and down the mountains and stuff. The seasonal and all that sort of business. But you think the Bigfoot follow the elk?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we got the same thing up here in Washington and Oregon, and Northern California. We got elk, we got everything they need, and these guys up here are huge.
Right. One thing that the Finding Bigfoot people, when they first come on, I quit watching them about 3 years ago, but when they first come on there, they were saying that they basically they wasn't apex predators, and I was saying all along they were apex predators, And then somebody was telling me, I had several people telling me that this past season they were saying that they were apex predators and there was plenty of deer in the area for them to eat. And I'm like, well, they totally changed their whole concept of what Bigfoot is, But, you're taking it, I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's an animal. I don't know whether it's, I don't know what it is. But the thing is, though, you take something like, you have to have a lot of calories to keep a body like that moving.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't see it on acorns and berries. I mean,
So, I just somebody's back door looking for food or some garlic or something like that.
I made a statement the other day on my Doc Pete Wilderness Adventure page. I said that, Bigfoot, they do several things, every day, and that's hunt and gather food and escape and evade. That's what they do, in their waking hours, whenever they're awake, So, I mean, it just, that's what I think they do. I don't know if anybody else got any other ideas on that, but, I mean,
Well, they've got quite the life. Sit around and eat and have sex and play around, and the kids are out there running around and whatnot.
Yeah.
And they're just having a good time.
Just running through the tulips, that's what they are.
It's not exactly a hippie commune, but it's close. It's all right. They're not
That's
vegetarians by any means. Not when they're dragging 1,000-pound elk down the hill.
That's right. You know, what gets me is, there's so many eyewitness accounts of them being apex predators too. You know, and I don't know. I just, I always carry a gun when I'm out. You know, and before I run into one, I carry like a 38 snubby or a 380 or something like that. Now I carry like a 454 Castle or something. You know.
You don't want to piss them off.
That's right. So you just have to, what,
get a
kind of tickled
9mm or something like that, blink, blink. Oh, what the hell?
Right. What tickled me when they was telling me that, well, Don, you probably seen a black bear. I'm thinking, are you crazy? I mean, I've only seen like maybe 100 black bear in my lifetime. Took pictures of I don't know how many, and everything else. I'm hunting and everything else. So I mean, I'm like, I don't know. But
in my case, they were saying the same thing about me. Maybe it was a bear. And I said, well, bears don't duck behind trees.
Right.
Bear would just kind of stand there and look at you and tilt its head and go,
Right.
But that Bigfoot I saw, it ducked behind a tree. And I'm sorry, that thing had a little bit of sense to it.
But no, I'll tell you, I think that the Bigfoot, I'm really not sure how many different species there are, or if there is different species, or I'll tell you something too. The one we was that we seen in Bell County this past winter was black-haired. Now that's the first black-haired Bigfoot that we had seen. The rest of them had been light, either almost light reddish to dark reddish hair. Seen one that was almost Nordic colored hair.
Maybe in Bigfoot we got the Irish and we got the Italians and we got the Russians, and stuff. We got different families of one species. And sometimes they mingle together and come up with a calico. Who knows? But they got different. They got different, colors just like humans do. So it's not that big a deal. And a lot of people, try to get some kind of structure out of that. But I don't think it can be structured. Like in Southern California, they got a little bit more of a reddish color. Up here, like with Patty was a little brownish red or something like that. Up here, most of them are dark black and shiny. So I think it's a regional thing. It's a family thing. It's genetic. It's not that big a deal. It's like the way it is with humans.
Right. Yeah.
Environment plays a lot into it too. But then again, you got a black one not too far from a red one up in your way.
Right. So the one you seen was a black-haired.
Yeah.
Type.
Yeah, mine was black.
Okay. What kind of facial features did it have, or did you see the face?
I saw mine in silhouette. It was light behind it.
Oh, okay.
I saw the left shoulder and the head, as it was kind of like leaning out from behind a tree, watching me.
Very massive, right?
Very.
Yeah.
Not too. This one might have been. I don't know if it was all that too massive. When I think about it, I've thought about it over the years. Scared the flying crap out of me, so I had to try to refocus myself to try to remember the details. But I think it was probably one of the smaller ones, maybe a juvenile, and it's probably about maybe 8-9 feet. But we got them up in 21, 22, 23 inch footprints. So you got to figure they're about 10 foot, 11 foot tall. So this one wasn't all that old. It was just checking me out.
Wow.
Of course, I didn't realize that at the time. I just ran away like a little girl running through the brambles.
Yeah.
But I was out there by myself without any gun or anything, and I wasn't expecting something like that.
No, it's a the one thing I noticed about the the one that I got a really good look at was that the head and the neck. You didn't really. I really couldn't tell where the head ended and the neck began, or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Right. No neck.
Just kind of, yeah. It really, I guess, really thick neck. And
what do they call those muscles that go from the shoulder to the neck? I forget.
The trapezius muscles.
Trapezius. Yeah, it's all trapezius, and going from the shoulder bone straight up to almost to the ears.
Yeah, I tell you, they're just incredible. I've seen a lot of things, but I tell you, I ain't never seen anything compare with them. They of course they walk fast because their gait's so long. I mean, I don't think anybody could even bother to outrun one. Of course, they of course anything could outrun a deer or anything like that. You wouldn't be able to outrun.
No, there's no way. You just put your hands up and say, okay, that's it.
Right. I think if they wanted you, they could get you without you even knowing that they was there. I really do, And the first time I ever heard a really good howl, I've heard several, but the first time I ever heard a really, absolute, no doubt howl. Okay, that thing it just raised every hair on my neck, back, and everything else. It was like, my God, it just, it was like it just reverberated through my whole body, It just, I never heard anything like it in my life. And since then I've heard several like that, but it just, and they must, and then you have to say, and you have to wonder, what does that mean when they howl like that? Does it mean that they killed something? Does it mean that I don't know. Yeah, it's just you run through things in your mind and you think that now why did this thing howl like that? Why do you think they howl like that? You've been doing this
long enough, and you've seen them enough. You've been doing some studying online and talking to people. And I know in the back of your head, you've been running it through your mind, just what the hell are these things? Are they a human type? Are they, like they say the Gigantopithecus, but they're saying that's an ape. And it's not an ape.
Right.
So it's, they're finding all these new skulls all over the place and around the world, different types of alleged humanoid types. Do you think it's something along that line, just a relic of something that goes back thousands of years?
I think it's a human hybrid. That's what I think. And, because of what I've seen. Okay? It had green eyes. So, to me, and the facial expressions, the way that it had human mannerisms, the way it moved its body, the way the face moved, and to me it just and the way the nose was, it didn't have an ape nose at all. It had like I say, it had like a Caucasian type nose. So it just I think that they're a human hybrid. I don't know what they're hybrid with,
Well, there's stories about that.
Yeah.
Like Alma out there.
Well, I've heard all kinds of theories, about the fallen angels, that type of thing, the giants. I just
and whatnot. Yeah.
UFOs, but. Or it could be something that we haven't, discovered yet and haven't cataloged the DNA yet, because they're finding stuff all the time, So it's just, but
we got the Melba Ketchum debacle, which didn't make it any better as far as getting enough about what their DNA is.
Well, I think that there's so much now that the hair, I know ourselves, we've collected hair. We've collected hair as high as 7 and 8 feet up trees. And and barks of trees. Like we talked about structures earlier, okay? A lot of people, I think, if they would look closer at the structures, okay?
Look for
not
spray.
all the time. Once in a great while, they'll leave hair in the bark, So, I mean, we collected hair, we collected fecal matter, things like that, and, sent it away, different things, and what we've come up with is that no match in the DNA database, and the sample clearly represented some new whatever, that type of thing. But so I mean, it's just there's no match to it. So I mean, it's just I don't know, but there's, like I say, I've told people before, there's no need to hoax anything because there's so much evidence out there anymore. There's so much. You can go out here. You can, my God, you could. If I think people, what they do is they car, like they car camp, or they might go out for a Saturday, or they go out for a Sunday or something like that. Sometimes we'll stay out for days at a time. And I think that's what you have to do. You just can't. And plus, you have to be willing to get off trail. You have to be willing to go a lot of places that you just, like a lot of places where people just don't go. There's no doubt in my mind that we have gone places where people may have not even been, maybe in generations, maybe. Because we don't see any signs of people. We don't see no cigarette butts, no cans, no litter, no nothing. So, I mean, some of the areas that we have to climb down cliffs, we have to, go into gorges and things like that.
Well, you have to give to people, like ever since Finding Bigfoot came out, a lot of people are hitting the woods nowadays. And mostly the city people just go out there, drive around, and like what you were saying in Finding Bigfoot, they go out there in their ATVs maybe and go out and bust around and do some dumb things and have some fun.
There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, but I don't think you're going to find a whole lot of. You're not going to find a whole lot doing that.
Right.
And I think that like I say, what we do is we go, we look at a prospective area, especially if we get some reports in. I have like 5,000 people on Facebook. Okay. And then I have about a little over 7,000, I think, on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn business connections are mainly sports, outdoor sporting people, business people, professional people, and what have you. So I usually get several hundred emails a day concerning anything from fishing to Bigfoot to whatever. So I got a pretty good intelligence gathering operation. And then what we do is we go ahead and if we match up several eyewitness accounts or whatever, then we'll go back and we'll do some research, about the area, what have you, and then we break out the topographical maps, and then we decide that of course, and we usually send one or two people or a couple of people to talk to the witnesses and what have you, and then we go into an area and we're pretty thorough. By the time we come out, we either know they've been there or they haven't been there. A lot of times we don't find anything.
I got to ask you. You're getting pretty organized. What is your end game? Your bottom line? What is it?
Well, my end game is exactly what I started out to do. My end game was, find out what these things are, okay? Why are they here, and where they came from? That's my end game. That's what I want to know.
Now, is it to prove it to do this for yourself, or are you doing it to kind of set up a scientific box that you can hand to somebody and say, "Here's Bigfoot"?
For my own peace of mind. You know, the thing is, you know, when you see something like that, okay, when you see something like that, you never forget it. Okay, it's like an event in your life that you never forget, and you have to, or at least I do. At least I have to figure out, like, what in the world is going on here? You know, the world is different than what I thought it was.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Your clean little box has just been busted open.
Right. So you got to think out of the box here, you know. And like I said, nobody else could give me any answers at all. It was just, you know, everybody. You know, I quickly found out that the first few months, the first year or so, that the great ape theory was so enveloped, it had just absolutely, it was like a theological statement. It was like a doctrine, a dogma type thing. Right. And if you said that you've seen something different, then my God, you know, say it ain't so. It can't be.
That's what some people are having with some of the people in the scholastic area, scientific area, where they're stuck on a beam.
And it's like, right. And, I mean, for over 60 years, they've been trying to prove this thing is an ape, and there's no proof whatsoever. Nothing. Right. Nothing. So, I mean, you know, of course, there's been books written about it being a great ape of America. I mean, it's just, millions of dollars have been made off this stuff. And it's just, you know, seeing what I've seen, it's not any kind of ape that I've seen. Just because something is big and hairy doesn't make it an ape.
Right, and you don't have to go to the other extreme of turning it into the forest people with all kinds of love, and you want to take flowers out to them and give them a big hug. For the forest friends and stuff. But you know, I mean, if people want to do that, that's fine. But for me, you know, I have to figure out what it is. What are these? I know they exist. For me, it's not a matter of faith. Okay. For me, it's a matter. I know they're there. I've seen them there. Okay. And so I mean, it's just you know, I have to you know, for my own peace of mind, figure out what they are. You know, and it just, you know, I guess I got very upset in the very first few years was that, you know, people were telling me that I didn't see what I thought I saw. You know, that it was me that was standing 20 yards away from this thing in broad daylight at 4 p.m. I know what I see. Right, you need to take less drugs or take more of them one way or the other.
I know that it vocalized. I know they were communicating with each other. Okay, I witnessed it. I heard it. I saw it. Okay, so I mean, it's just when you see, you know, monkeys don't do that. Right. These things were very calm. They wasn't excited. They wasn't yelling or screaming or anything like that. Okay.
They just wanted you out of their little pond hole.
Yeah, I've talked. I've had several people. They say, well, maybe you were taking their fish. You know, maybe I was. I probably was.
Yeah, that was their hole.
And yeah, and so you know, I had a pretty good stringer of fish. I had a limited smallmouth bass there, and they were decent size coming out of a decent creek like that. But I mean, it just you know. Maybe that's what the deal was. I don't know why.
Hopefully they didn't start a habit out of that and chasing down fishers and hoping to get a string out of them.
Well, you know, the thing is this. Looking back on it, I don't know why I tossed it to them. It just seemed like the thing to do.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. Here you go. Those are yours.
But you know, again, you know, and like I said, you know, I was kind of like backing up, and finally I was kind of just running and looking behind me all the time.
That sounded a lot like me, the way I did it. I ended up with a lot of scratches and stuff getting back to my Jeep.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I was cut, man. It looked like somebody just cut me with razor blades. And, yeah, I was, shook up. I remember, getting in my truck and thinking at the time, will my truck start? I mean, I don't know why it wouldn't have started. Mm-hmm. But it was like being in a horror movie, and maybe my truck won't start. And I was taking my key, and I was saying, "Oh my God, I hope this truck starts."
I was doing the same thing. I was throwing that shit in the back of my Jeep, and I just trying to get the hell out. And I had from now on, I don't do this anymore. But I had nosed myself in. That means I have to back up and do a three thing turn to be able to get the hell out of there, get that Jeep turned around. And I don't do that anymore. I park where I can get out first.
Absolutely.
Not that there's a problem. I don't have any paranoia or anything, but damn.
Right. But I'll tell you, it's an experience, and that's the end game basically is for me to, of course, I don't know if we're ever going to find out where these things come from, huh?
Right. If you actually got all the information you needed to actually prove it to yourself, would you do something to get it out to the world somehow?
I don't think the world can take the truth. I really don't. I think that if everything was disclosed and it turned out that these things are absolute human hybrids, I think it would turn everybody's religious beliefs and everybody's belief systems upside down. I don't think that I really don't think that people would really want to know. I think it would be too discomforting for people to know, for most people to know.
I'm not absolutely sure about that. That's why finding Bigfoot is so damn popular.
Well, it's so unrealistic, though, the way they do it.
Well, it's unrealistic, but there's still a curiosity, and a lot of people want to know.
There's a curiosity about the creature if it exists, but to actually find out that this thing bred with a human being somehow, either naturally or artificially, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if people could accept that. Even if it was scientifically proven 100%, I don't think people would accept it.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that. That's why the government doesn't reveal it.
Because
the government
then
knows about it and whatnot.
You raise a lot of questions. Okay, does this thing have a soul?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of questions to be raised. If that's the case, does it have a soul to be saved and all this sort of business?
Right. How does it fit into the religious pattern?
Right. How does it fit into everything? I mean, So I mean, it's just.
We got human neighbors.
Huh?
And so we got human neighbors of some kind living next to us for all these thousands of years.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure they've probably been here for they don't tell how long, and probably on other continents too as well. So I just I don't know. I don't know if people could. I don't think people could accept the truth if that was proved 100%. If that was the truth, I mean, if that was the truth, you'd have people that wouldn't accept it. They couldn't accept it.
Well, we're kind of running out of time with Armageddon coming up, with this Syrian war going on over there, and Russia and America going back and forth, blah, blah, blah. We might get blown up before we figure it out.
Well, I'll just go run off and live with a Bigfoot.
Yeah, that's what Billy says. He's got that property.
Heaven knows they've seen me enough around, so they probably see me and they say, "Hey man, there's that guy again."
Yeah, as long as you throw them a couple of strings of fish every once in a while, they'll leave you alone.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, you just never know. But I don't know. There's quite a bit of hotbed of activity east of the Mississippi. And all. I found quite a bit in Indiana and in the forest up there in this one area, in the Wabash River area.
Are you talking about down in the southeast corner, down there? God, what is that area?
I'm talking about the Wabash. You know the Wabash drainage area, the Wabash River area.
It's been so long since I've had to think about it.
The Kennetuck River or whatever. Yeah, and then I found quite a bit around the Mammoth Cave area.
You talking about
Cherokee National Forest?
Like that?
No, not around French Lick. Well, I can't give you the exact locations of my hot spots. but
Google Earth kind of remind me.
I'll just say the Wabash area, what have you. Then there's around Washington County, Jackson County area, and all right around through there. Then you got Mammoth Cave area is a great place. You got Ohio County is an awesome place in western Kentucky. You got of course you got the Appalachian area, the eastern Kentucky. Wayne National Park in National Forest there in Ohio is awesome. You got the Cherokee National Forest, of course, is just a great place. Smoky Mountains, the Blue Ridge Mountains is another great place.
Here's a question for you. Let's see, how much time we got left? We got 8 minutes left, and Lori's not here tonight, and she likes to ask a question on the way out. 8 minutes worth of what your advice would be to a newbie, a brand new person getting started.
Brand new person getting started. Well, first of all, what I would do is I would make sure I had wilderness survival skills. I'd be able to navigate, for one thing, because if you go out there, you're going to have to be able to navigate, You're not on a roadway or a trail or anything. Okay. Number two, what I would do is I'd really do my homework. I would find out areas that seem to be pretty active, and then I would, like I say, we use, one of the things we really make a lot of use of is topographical maps. I can't emphasize the importance of that enough.
Right, a compass and a topographical map.
Well, they're just, the topographical map will tell you, and we even use Google. We'll use Google Earth too. So we use we are very well aware of the lay of the land,
right.
And what have you. So, and we look for travel corridors. And then once we're in the area, we look for funnel areas, kill zones, ambush points, things like that. And we look for kills. We look for, like I say, evidence of kills. We look for evidence of gathering, like maybe where they've been gathering berries or roots, things like that. Because they're hunter-gatherers, not just hunters. They're hunter-gatherers.
Yeah, everything surrounds food and water.
Right. Like I say, they hunt, gather for food, they escape and evade. That's what they do all day long. So it's just that's their way of life.
Right.
I think they have a social system.
Right.
Some kind
they
of
have a culture
structure.
Kind.
Yeah. And I think that the young stay with the females because I've noticed that the juveniles, the juvenile tracks, the larger tracks are not as big as what I would think the big males would be. I think that they just like most creatures, the juvenile stays with the with the mother.
Here's a quick question.
And yeah.
Have you noticed that with all the different size tracks you've seen, that let's say that the tracks evolve as they get older? Some people have said that some of the smaller tracks look too human, and that they're saying that those are basically human kids walking around or something like that.
Well, the areas
too human, and then they evolve a little bit bigger or change as they get older.
I could see that, but if you were in an area where there's any human activity, but see, some of the areas, matter of fact, almost all the areas that we go at where these, what we call, where they actually inhabit, okay, there's just, there's nobody going to walk around with no foot protection back there.
Right.
I mean, it'd be, oh my God, you just couldn't do it.
And get a bunch of hippies out there walking barefoot or something, maybe. But.
Some areas where we go, man, I mean, it just, it'd just be impossible, especially for a kid or even an adult person, I would think, to be walking around in areas like that.
But do you see the kids' tracks look a lot more human than the older tracks?
They're, I've seen fatter juvenile tracks, and then I've seen a little bit narrower ones. I've seen really wide, big adult tracks, and I've seen really, I've seen big adult tracks that wasn't as wide. So, I don't think they all wear the same shoe size.
Right.
I think that, they're individuals. It's just like when I seen the other ones, when I barely got a glance at the other one's face, okay? One of the ones is back in the background, his face was different than the one in front. So I think that, that they are, they're alike, they're a lot alike, probably 95%
but
alike.
But different physiology between a family member.
Just like hair color, maybe, or shade of hair color,
One's ears are going to be bigger than the other.
It might be. And that's something else. I didn't see ears on this thing. I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't see ears on it at all. None at all.
Maybe too shaggy? Smaller ears?
I don't know. All I can say is I don't remember seeing any ears on it at all. So
well,
I had just too much hair, or what? I don't know. I don't know if they had. I don't even know. I couldn't tell you if they had ears or not. The only thing I could say is I didn't see any ears. So, but I am glad you brought that up.
You haven't seen ears on any Bigfoot? I mean, you've seen a couple.
The black one. We took a picture of it, okay, by accident. And when we blew it up, it looks like some ears on the side. It's got the crest head. It's got the dominant brow, and it has the deep eye sockets. Okay, and it does look like it does have ears. But now on the other ones, I haven't seen any ears. So,
well, I think we're going to have to leave it at this. We have a minute and a half left. Lauren, you want to take us out?
Yep. Thank you again, Don, for coming on tonight. It's been a
really
great
enjoyed
interview. Yeah, you're just you're full of information, and I know we really appreciate it. Our listeners appreciate it. Everyone, we will be back same time, same place next week. I'm not sure who our guest is at this moment. But until then, you can check our Facebook page. We'll have that up as soon as possible. You can check our YouTube page as well to re-listen to any old shows and archived shows. So, thank you again, Don, for coming on.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Anytime. I appreciate it. I did too. I thank y'all.
Okay, y'all. Everybody say good night now.
Good night, everybody.
it's Flo, and this is my impression of a traveling lounge singer. And we're going up the airport escalator. Hey, where you from? No response. Classic. Got in an accident, so you gotta take a cab, huh? No cabs at Progressive service centers. They got rental cars on site, which is out of sight, you know?
Progressive takes the hassle out of claims. Just drop your car off at one of our service centers and we'll manage the rest.
Here's a little number I like to call Waiting for the Shuttle Bus.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Service centers not available in all areas. You have a choice of repair facilities.